In this episode,
Contrary to popular belief, recovery isn't only for addicted people. Let me repeat that. Recovery is not only for addicted people. More often than not, we hear people say,
I'm in recovery from my addiction.
which leads people to believe that recovery is only for addicts.
Nope, you don't have to be an addict to need recovery. Welcome back to my channel, dear seeker. I hope you're having an amazing day. If not, let's get you back on track. Ready to recover your mental health and revolutionize your life? Wake up to peace and contentment each day. Learn how to get along with others, discover your purpose, and lead by example. Imagine every interaction becoming a symphony of learning, growth, and the wisdom you need to transform your life. It's called recovery, recreating your life one day at a time. I've been working on recovering my mental health since 1998, so I'd say I know a thing or two about recovery by now. Actually, I've become what some would call a recovery expert. Have I done everything perfectly? Nah. Am I perfect today? Not even close. But here's what I can tell you. Recovery isn't just for addicts, and it's totally worth every ounce of effort you'll put into it. So let's unbox what recovery really is and what it's not.
Let's talk about recovery, what it is and what it is not. Contrary to popular belief, recovery isn't only for addicted people. Let me repeat that. Recovery is not only for addicted people. More often than not, we hear people say,
I'm in recovery from my addiction.
which leads people to believe that recovery is only for addicts.
Nope, you don't have to be an addict to need recovery.
Recovery is a transformation process for anyone who has experienced mental or emotional trauma that damaged or destroyed their mental health. When we enter recovery, we don't recover from an addiction.
No, it's so much more than that.
Recovery means that we are taking steps to recover our mental health. And as we improve our mental health and process the pain of our past traumas, our compulsions, addictions, and other unhealthy behaviors will automatically eradicate themselves because we will no longer have a desire to engage in those activities.
The truth of the matter is, every addiction and compulsive behavior is rooted in unprocessed trauma. But here's the thing, some people go through trauma and don't end up with addictions. Why is that? Because it's genetic predispositions that make some people more likely to develop compulsive behaviors and addictions than others. If you've got the genes that make you prone to addiction, you'll probably struggle with it at some point in your life. But if those genes aren't part of your makeup, you're much less likely to develop an addiction. Yep, addictions and compulsions are genetic. They get passed down through your family line and are hardwired into your DNA, just like baldness, acne, or your eye color. And some people in your family will get the addiction gene passed down to them, and some will not. That's how genetics work. So, if you're an addict, do not shame yourself over that. You were born with something genetic that you didn't ask for. Now, if you didn't get the genetic predisposition for addictions and compulsions, you'll probably never become truly addicted to anything. But here's the catch. You may still end up doing unhealthy and ineffective stuff to deal with your pain and trauma because A, nobody taught you better coping strategies, and B, you haven't yet found the good mental health tools and tricks that actually work. And hey, listen up, there's absolutely zero shame in any of this. We literally had no clue what we were doing to make ourselves feel better before we became aware of the fact that we may have a mental health struggle going on. We were just winging it, trying to figure out how to deal with all these crazy emotions and old trauma fallout without anyone teaching us the ropes. I mean, come on, when did school ever offer us a course in How to Process Your Feelings 101? They didn't. You know, Seeker, it really burns my cookies that so many lives have been destroyed because nobody taught us this stuff while we were growing up, so we just didn't know any better. But here's the thing, nowadays, we've got incredible mental health resources right at our fingertips through the internet. That means there's really no excuse to stay stuck in unhealthy patterns anymore. You know what they say? When we know better, we do better. That's exactly why I created this platform. I love sharing simple mental health tips that actually make a difference when you use them every day. They're not complicated, just practical stuff that works. I know this stuff works because it's helped me and countless others I know around the world recover our mental health. So let me ask, if you're vibing with this message, I'd be so grateful if you could hit that like button, drop a comment, or even better, subscribe. Every bit of support helps me reach more people who might need to hear this message of hope and healing. And by the way, healing our past traumas and recovering our mental health need to become our top priority if we're ever going to see a change in the world. Let the healing begin, and let it begin with me and you. Now, let me speak to the non-addicted listener who's feeling wonky and knows their mental health isn't where it needs to be. You're not addicted per se, but you're not handling things in healthy ways either. Without processing and healing our trauma, we might find ourselves stuck in other kinds of sticky patterns and behaviors that are wrecking our relationships and messing up our lives and the lives of our children. Yes, our precious offspring are watching us and learning from our example. That's another reason why it's so important to recover our mental health. If this is you, don't fool yourself. You need to recover your mental health as much as any addicted person does. Now, let's address the other group of folks who are genetically predisposed for addiction. If you found that your habit has already crossed the line into addiction, here's a truth bomb for you. Just because you stop an unhealthy behavior or addiction doesn't mean your mental health automatically bounces back or that you're in recovery. When you abstain from the unhealthy behavior or substance, you're technically clean, and clean is good. However, you're not actually in recovery until you start addressing and processing the pains and traumas of your past that are causing you to want to self-medicate. That's why taking steps to recover our mental health, such as working the 12 steps of recovery or other methods that dig deep into our thought patterns, is vital to our success in overcoming compulsive behaviors and addictions. When we abstain from the compulsive behaviors or addictions without healing our traumas, we can become even more miserable than before we began our journey to better mental health. People call this white knuckling it or going dry. Here's the thing, staying abstinent and truly recovering are completely different processes. Abstinence from the behaviors that are causing damage to our mental health is only the beginning of recovery. It breaks my heart when I work with people who stay clean for a little minute, but then duck and dodge, taking the necessary steps to process their past traumas. These type of people are never successful in recovering their mental health and ultimately give up their fight for a better future. So the bottom line is, addicted or not, without working on ourselves and our thought patterns and healing our emotions, the insanity will only continue. This is exactly why so many of us who have the genetics for addiction and don't want to face our past trauma end up jumping from one unhealthy habit to another. We stop drinking, then we start gambling. We give up gambling, and we find ourselves overeating. We decide to get fit, but then we wind up in an unhealthy relationship with either inappropriate materials or a toxic person. We quit smoking, then we become workaholics. The cycle continues. The real game changer is when we stop focusing on abstaining from the unhealthy behavior and instead start focusing on recovering our mental health. Until we do that deeper work, we'll keep spinning our wheels and nothing will truly change. The struggle is real. And remember, everything I talk about on this channel comes from my own experience and the experiences of the countless individuals I've mentored over the years.
How do we improve our mental health? By healing the damage our past traumas inflicted on us, and also by healing the further damage we piled onto ourselves by self-medicating and numbing the pain with behaviors that only made things worse. Once again, those unhealthy habits may or may not have progressed into addictions and compulsions, but they still show up to signal us that we need healing for the traumas of our past. Recovering our mental health creates a pathway to healing, growth, and a life of purpose. You may ask,
I haven't experienced any traumas, so why am I stuck with these unhealthy habits?
I'm here to educate you, my friend. Two kinds of traumas exist. One trauma is stuff that happens to you, such as abuse, bullying, being raised by a control freak or narcissist, a tragic event, a disaster, a loss, a medical episode or accident, or even exposure to someone else's trauma. The other trauma involves what didn't happen for you. Examples include lacking nurturing, affection, encouragement, or attention while growing up, inadequate housing conditions, neglect, lack of supervision or monitoring, failing to meet educational needs, leaving a child alone for unsafe periods, or any other childhood needs that weren't met. Having emotionally unavailable parents or siblings also counts. These traumas can affect us for the rest of our lives, unless we recover from them.
When I was on my own recovery journey, I tried everything. I went to mental health doctors, counselors, ministers, you name it. And don't get me wrong, these folks really wanted to help. But here's the thing, most of them had learned everything they knew from textbooks. They hadn't actually lived through any of the traumas I had, nor did they experience the thoughts and emotions that I was going through while trying to recover my mental health. For someone like me who thinks outside the box, that just wasn't cutting it. But then something amazing happened. I started meeting people who'd been exactly where I was, and they'd made it to the other side. These folks weren't just surviving, they were absolutely thriving. When I looked at their lives, something clicked. I thought, wait a minute, if they can have an incredible life after all their trauma, maybe I can too. And here's the beautiful part. When I told them I wanted what they had, they didn't hold back. They sat down with me and said, here's exactly how we did it. That changed everything for me. Just having real conversations with people who had walked in my shoes, experienced the same feelings of despair, confusion, and anxiety, and come out healthy, stronger, and wiser, that's what saved my life. That's what helped bring me back to sanity. I'm telling you this because I believe with my whole heart that this kind of connection, this real talk between people who've been through similar challenges, can become life-changing for you too.
It's called talk therapy.
And listen, if you're sitting there thinking, I want what you have, then I have some great news to tell you. There is a way out of that pain and misery you're in.
You don't have to figure this out alone anymore.
I have a list of free mental health recovery resources on my website that can start you on your way today to healing your traumas of the past. You know, sometimes people say to me,
Gee, I'm too far gone to ever get healthy.
or,
I've just messed up too many things. There's no coming back from this.
and the funny thing, well, actually the not so funny thing, is that I used to feel that same way. I had been so sick for so long and inflicted so much damage on so many people, including myself, that I fully believed that I was too far gone to ever get healthy. But thank God that people believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. But I could tell that they really believed it, so I kept fighting until eventually I started believing it too. And here's the crazy part. Today I can hardly believe I used to be such a mess. Mentally ill, bottling addiction, the whole thing. I know this sounds wild, but it's true. My life now is completely different from what it was back then, and I'm so grateful for the people who believed in me and loved me while I was learning to believe in and love myself. And dear seeker, I believe that no matter how bad things have gotten or how far down the scale you've gone, if you really want to recover your mental health and are willing to do the work to get there, you can and you will recover. Follow me. Let me show you the same path that brought me from miserable and barely surviving to happy and peaceful living. I'll share with you the things I've learned, just like those beautiful souls did for me when I was messed up in my mind and suffering.
Your breakthrough is waiting.
Like the great Les Brown says, it's not over until I win. Be determined to heal your mind, and you'll discover a life beyond your wildest dreams and become the winner that God has created you to be. I love you. Until next time. For relaxing music and beautiful scenes that help calm your mind for a daily win, check out my other channel, Beautify Your Mind Studio. I'm G, and I post mind over matter easy mental health hacks to help you win every day.